Hello and welcome. You are listening to Pint Size Therapy, where we explore all things related to mental health healing, personal growth and development, emotional wellness, and the human experience in pint sized bites. I'm your host, Dr. Aletha Clark, a licensed psychotherapist, certified hypnotherapist, and master addiction counselor, and I am happy to have you here with me today as you embark on your mental wellness journey. While I appreciate you tuning in, don't forget this podcast is informational only and is not a substitute for seeking out your own mental health counseling with a licensed professional. So join me as we jump into today's episode. Welcome to today's episode. I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're driving, on a walk, or sitting quietly at home, thank you for making space for yourself. Today, we're driving into the power of intentionality, specifically what it means to live with intention when setting visions and goals. We'll explore how to create goals that truly reflect who you are and where you want to go, how to take consistent action, and how to stay connected to your vision, even when life gets messy. So grab a notebook or simply let this conversation wash over you. Let's begin. So, when we talk about intentionality, we're talking about acting on purpose, with purpose. It's about aligning your actions with your values, not just reacting to what life throws at you. Often, we talk about goals or changes we want to make in a very abstract way. Maybe you thought, I want to be healthier, I want a better career, I want to be more confident. These are wonderful desires, but without clarity and intentionality, they remain just that, wishes. A vision is the big picture of the life you want to live. It's the why behind your goals. The vision is emotional, it's personal. And when we're intentional about our goals, we're not just making checklists, we're planting seeds that reflect the life we want to grow. Intentionality means acting with a purpose, with a specific vision in mind. So here's an example. Let's say your vision is to live a life where you feel calm, present, and connected to your loved ones. That vision can guide a variety of goals, such as reducing work stress, setting boundaries with your phone, creating regular time for connection. If I'm going to set this vision as an intention, I firmly state, I am creating a life that feels calm, present, and connected by managing my stress, by setting boundaries around technology and work, and prioritizing meaningful time with the people I love weekly. So, do you notice the difference? This intention is clear, it's measurable, it's action oriented. It's stated in the present tense, not what you are going to do, but what you are doing. Intentionality helps us step away from autopilot living and into purpose-driven action. But we need to take a pause here, and we have to get honest about what gets in the way. So we all have barriers to intentionality, some visible and some kind of subtle. Even with the best of intentions, many of us struggle to stay connected to our vision or even follow through on our goals. If you struggled to stick with goals in the past, or even to set goals, I want you to know that you're not alone and there's nothing wrong with you. It's not because you're lazy or unmotivated. It's often because we haven't had the space or the support or the strategy to move through the things that hold us back. Let's kind of look at some of these common barriers that we're often faced with. We often hesitate to set bold goals or dream big because we're afraid. We're afraid that we'll fail or that we're not enough to reach these goals. This fear kind of whispers that it's safer to stay where you are than to risk disappointment. This shows up as voices in our head saying, what if I try and it doesn't work? Or I'm not good enough to follow through. But here's the truth: growth requires risk. A failure isn't the opposite of success, it's a part of it. Failing doesn't mean you're broken, it actually means you're trying. And trying is brave. So if you've been kind of holding back, consider this your permission to try anyway. You're allowed to start small, and you're worthy of becoming the version of yourself you envision. But growth it involves risk. Perfectionism is another sneaky little barrier. Perfectionism convinces us that if we can't do it perfectly, we shouldn't do it at all. It can paralyze us before we even begin. It tells us if I can't do it perfectly, I shouldn't do it at all. But intentional living isn't about flawless execution, it's about consistent progress. Give yourself permission to make messy progress. Let go of the need for perfection and instead lean into curiosity and learning. Engage in messy action. Real progress often looks like awkward first drafts or imperfect steps and days where you just show up anyway. Sometimes we're not intentional simply because we don't know what we want, and that's okay. Clarity doesn't always come in a lightning bolt. It often unfolds through reflection and action. It's hard to be intentional if you don't know what you want, and that's all right. You don't need to have your whole life figured out. Start with what feels meaningful today, in the moment, and clarity will grow with action. Start by asking yourself small questions each day. What matters to me today? What drains me? What energizes me? With time, your vision becomes clearer. Also, when life feels just chaotic or heavy, the goal of goal setting can, feel like just one more thing on your already packed plate. When you're stretched thin, even the idea of setting goals can feel exhausting. This is a signal to slow down. If you're in that space, be gentle with yourself. Intentionality doesn't have to mean doing more, it means doing what matters most. Even one small intentional action a day can help you regain a sense of purpose and momentum. We live in a world where we're constantly comparing our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. It's easy to feel like we're behind or not measuring up. But we have to remember people don't post the bad and the ugly on social media. What we see on their stories and posts may look really different when the camera is off. So take your eyes off what everyone else is doing and come back to your own values, your own rhythm, your own definition of success. Your path is yours. Your goals don't have to look like anyone else's. You're allowed to grow at your own pace. Instead of measuring your success by someone else's journey, reconnect to your own values. So, if you're listening to this and thinking, well, that sounds great, but I've tried it before, I hear you. And I want to remind you, you're not behind. You're not broken. You're becoming. Every moment is an invitation to begin again. Intentional living is not about getting it right all the time. It's about coming back to yourself again and again. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need a willingness to try. And every small step, every pause to reflect, every time you choose yourself, that's intentional living. Okay, so let's get down to the nitty gritty. How do we set intentional goals and live in intention? How do we actually create goals that feel aligned with our vision and don't just feel like more pressure? I often encourage clients to be intentional every day about goals and changes they want to make. So, how do we make sure we're intentional about our goals daily? This is where small, consistent habits come into play. So, here are some suggestions, right? Start off with reflection, right? Ask yourself, what do I want to feel more of in my life? What is missing or out of alignment right now? What truly matters to me in this season of life? The next step is defining the vision. Write it out like a story or a snapshot. I imagine waking up feeling peaceful. I spend time journaling. I do work that feels meaningful. I end my day feeling connected. Let your vision be emotionally rich. We want to set some smart goals aligned with that vision. We're going to establish goals that are specific, that we can measure, that we feel are achievable and relevant. And they also have a time specific limit to it. Break goals into kind of micro steps. Big goals are great, but they need small, consistent actions to come to life. A micro step might be 10-minute morning journaling or reaching out to a mentor this week. It could be something really small, especially when those goals feel like they could take a long time. So how do we go about, living intentionally every day? Here's where many people get stuck. We create the goals, we write the vision, and then life takes over. Intentional living happens in the small daily choices that we make. Posting these intentions on a mirror or a wall helps you to hold yourself accountable. It will also help with the next steps. Start your morning with a moment of clarity. What's one small thing I can do today that reflect my bigger vision? Use gentle check-ins. Ask yourself midday, am I moving in the direction I want to go? Are my actions right now aligning with my goals? Am I being intentional? Or have I engaged in intentionality today? These simple questions can help you stay on track and course correct if needed. We can't forget to celebrate the wins, even the tiny ones. Each small step counts and keeps you moving forward. So take a minute to celebrate those victories. Every baby step forward moves you in the right direction towards your goal. Forgive the detours and recommit without shame. Living intentionally isn't about control, it's about connection. Staying connected to your why, your values, and your vision. So now that we've covered how to live intentionally, I want you to reflect on your own visions, goals, and intentions. Kind of write down for yourself or even take some time to journal. What has been holding me back from setting or following through on my goals and intentions? Where have I been waiting for perfect conditions before actually taking any action? What is one small, brave, imperfect step I can take today towards my vision? Living with intention doesn't require dramatic life changes. It requires deliberate action and deliberate attention to what matters. And that's something you can start doing right now. If you'd like support in this process, I've created a free downloadable goal setting worksheet to help you reflect and take action. You can find this on my website at pintsizedtherapy.com. And I encourage you to set aside time each week to review your progress and adjust your goals and vision as needed. Intentionality isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. Use these tools to reflect on what's working, where you need to make adjustments, and how you can keep moving towards your vision. Remember, being intentional is about showing up for yourself every day in small but meaningful ways. Don't underestimate the power of those small baby steps. They add up to something big over time. So for today, I want to thank you for showing up for yourself today. And until next time, take care, be kind to yourself, and keep moving forward with intention. As always, thank you for joining me today on Pint-Sized Therapy. If you found this conversation meaningful, I invite you to leave me a comment, like, subscribe, and share with your family and friends. Come visit my website at pintsizedtherapy.com, where you will find resources to accompany our various discussions and encourage you to continue your wellness journey. Once again, I am Dr. Aletha Clark. Until next time, remember to protect your peace and take care of your mental health.